And one. Welcome, everyone, to our Daily Magic podcast. We are live here, coming to you from a lot of different ways. We're live streaming to you today, and we've got a very special guest with us. But let's just get ourselves introduced first. Here we go. So as you know, Our Daily Magic is a podcast where we talk about how we can cultivate magic in our daily lives. And today we have a very special guest, Gabriel Lugo, aka Gabo, who is the creator of GaiaAwakens.com. But right before we talk to Gabo about what is going on with him, let's reconnect with our co-host, Dell. How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. I had a note on my phone that just said the mic was off. So I was like, hold on, let me make sure you can hear me so I'm not like. But I'm doing great. I am in the midst of a couple of things. Did some deep meditation work for the past couple days and really integrating it. But synchronistically, I am in the midst of just a straight water fast. And what I told Kai about, I said my attention, what I'm doing is I'm about to heal my back. I have some back issues, and my intent, and we're going to get into this, which is like a perfect segue, is we all are infinite beings, and I'm putting that to the test. And infinite beings mean that we can do anything because it's infinite, and I'm going to heal my back.
Awesome. A bold declaration for a bold being. How fitting. Are there any more details that you want to share about that?
About the healing process or what?
About how you're approaching it uniquely, authentically.
Well, that's perfect because it's uniquely because I'm approaching it as me. And I'm just doing things that are in alignment for me, for not only connecting deeper with myself, but just doing stuff to integrate it in my own unique way. But the cool thing, what's happening is I'm understanding on a deeper level, because on a physical standpoint, yeah, I have this pain that's going on, but on a deeper level, there's some emotional, some energetic stuff that I'm going through to be able to do it. And with my back issues or any like issues that I have, the pain will go away, then it'll come back. And it reminds me sort of like just a healing journey of working through some traumas or some wounds that felt like we fully were able to work through it or we forgave it, but it starts to come up again later on the road. And what happens to us, and it happened to me, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Why is this thing coming up? I thought I forgave this person, I forgave the situation, but this is one of my books I highly recommend that I read called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and he was saying, as you get deeper into your being in that place of infinite unconditional love and your infinite energy, the more you go deeper in it, what happens is those traumatic events that we may have forgave on the surface, on some type of level, is the root of it, like down deep. And if we don't address the root, what happens is the root starts to grow again. So like a plant, like we have pulling out the weeds from our garden, if we don't really get the root of the weed is going to grow up again. And what happens is this event or this traumatic event, it's the surface thing that, oh yeah, it's this person I had an interaction with that brought this traumatic event in me. It could have been adulthood or whatever, but deep down, it's some deep-rooted childhood stuff that happened that we have to address. A part of us in the childhood, and what's happened is life is showing us in the reflection of people we're interacting with in this moment that we got to go deeper, got to connect to our inner child. And I was wondering, why did I get triggered? Why am I still triggered about this thing? Was not as strong as the trigger as it was before because you're doing the healing process. So the trigger keeps going less and less and less. But then eventually you get to that point, into that root. And what happens, that's what I was about to say, with Michael Singer, where you're saying with the traumatic events, and when it happens, energy gets stored at different parts of us. And the energy from the traumatic events gets stored deep, and it's sort of like a seed, the seed of the traumatic event that's in the ground, and it grows up. It grows, expands, 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 expands. And as we do this deeper work, we're chopping down the layers of that plant. And then eventually what happens is the last part of it, it comes up to be able to be seen, to be acknowledged, but also you're integrating that part of yourself, that childhood part of yourself that was stuck in that event from whatever happened, whatever. There's a part of you that's stuck there, and be able to get it, it's sort of like digging it in the treasure. You open up the treasure, but before you get the treasure, it's like all the spooky spiders and whatever. But you open up that treasure, which is you, and you integrate that essence of you back in unconditional love, and not the essence of you that's still stuck in that traumatic event, and you're able to be there for that part of you that's ready to integrate and love it. Thank you for asking me that question. I just it's going to be a good topic today.
Great, thank you, Dell. Gabo, the words Gaia Awakens, like just juxtaposing those two together in the context of everything that we're experiencing today, and the many ways that we are experiencing that phenomenon through ourselves, just as Dell was explaining, like, what does that actually mean to you? And if you could also in that tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. Thank you. That's a good question. The word or the name Gaia Awakens for me was something I just, as I think about names and titles for my creations, I always go to what they represent, what the essence is. And when I started to create this perception that I have about the era that we're living right now, I couldn't think of anything else but who we are as an organism, and my awakening, my spiritual awakening, coming from Mother Gaia. It was to me just part of who we are, right? Because this process is just us becoming aware of that, which is the idea of unity and us being a collective organism, and going away from the perception of division and separation. And those two just described invariably what it is, the process that we're going through, which is us as Gaia. Gaia is not a separate entity. I think a lot of people see it, it's still with the eyes of division, thinking that we are explorers, in a foreign land called Gaia. And the truth is that we are Gaia, much as the land is Gaia, the air and the animals, the plants, the rocks, minerals. And that is the realization that I went through in my experience. And, far from me trying to say, what people are experiencing, I just feel that even if people are not seeing it this way, that's what they're reconnecting with. Maybe it's just my biased point of view and wanting to see this, but I just see that people are coming into the realization that we cannot continue to be separated from each other and the land itself. This is something that's been going on for decades, of course, but now it's been accentuated. And my little contribution to my perception of the world was to create this Gaia Awakens idea, which is, again, it's just a couple of words that have a lot of meaning for me. Hopefully it does inspire some of the same essence that I feel in other people, and mostly to realize that it's not something that's happening to the planet, it's something that is happening to all of us together. And as we go through this process, there's so much beauty that we can perceive. There is infinite beauty at any given moment, and our perception has been now shifting towards that the enjoyment, Now, in terms of like who I am, that's a question that you can probably ask me every day, and I'll give you a different answer. I can give you a recollection of what I have been for the past couple of months. And one thing that's been well, first of all, I know that everything that I believe I am is false. And I really don't mean this in the philosophical point of view, even though we can, go deeper into that. But truly, who I am is just a amalgamation of ideas and external symbolism that has created, who I am. And to be honest, the reason why I can't really answer this question, I usually struggle when people ask me, who are you? What do you do? It's kind of hard to say because nobody can answer that question, honestly. We are actually asking this question to ourselves all the time. Who am I? Are you the body? Are you the mind? Are you the thoughts? Are you, the titles that you have? Are you the experiences that you've had? And, when I meditate on this, or I just contemplate this idea, it's and I actually had it this morning, believe it or not, this morning as I was, doing my morning routine and I do my breathing exercises, I just felt this, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like a concept that makes you question if who you are, that identity of self, is something that you truly are flowing through, the inner self, or if it's something that keeps, knocking on your door and telling you you're awake. It's 7 a.m. in the morning. You have to do this. You're Gabriel. You are responsible for doing this and that, and you are all these ideas of the past. And that's where we're kind of struggling with as humanity right now, trying to come to terms that we are not that self that we have been indoctrinated and told by our family, our friends, our co-workers, neighbors. I mean, those are just perceptions of us. Those are just like pictures. It's almost like pointing at a picture of you and saying, like, this is who I am. Yeah, I mean, it's a reflection of who you were and, how you look, but it's not that picture is not, pumping blood. It's not having an experience. It's just a little part of you. And, it's all well and good to see that. So the question is, how do we know who we are? And I'll finish the point with this. That is, to me, the journey that we're all going through, because we have been living in the external world way too much. We're obsessed with the external world, the material things. We take everything, for granted, and we think, we understand the process and the journey that I feel that I've been going through, and I can see it reflected in a lot of people, is finding that true self, which paradoxically means nothingness. We are nothing, but in the nothingness, this may not be practical, but it's a realization to know who we truly are, inside. And yeah, you can see that for the past couple of months, I've been, going, I guess, deep into my awareness of the universe itself, and how is it possible that we are the universe, and there is just an inevitable, moment when you know that, if you are to be the universe, you have to be nothing. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Yeah. That makes total sense of explaining it and what you're doing and what we all are doing. Some of us unconsciously and some of us consciously are doing that work of discovering who we really are and that nothingness. And I was just thinking about a quote that Muji said that led to his awakening, when he said his master Babaji said, for you to discover who you really are, you must vanish. And he said in that moment, that's when like the craziness and he's able to dissolve and really reveal who he really is, and from that, and also from my own experience, who we really are is just I am. That's it. It's in the Bible. I am that I am. But what happens from there is we determine what that energy flows into, and that I am is that nothingness of everything, that infinite. But then it goes to like I am love, I am abundance, I am this, I am that. But then a lot of us use it in different ways as well. Like I am worthless, I am this, like beating ourselves up. But in this process of what we're doing, this self-discovery, we get observant, and like you mentioned, Gabo, how we come to realization that a lot of the stuff that we have, a lot of beliefs, was brought down or given to us from people in our experience, people in our life who may have said we're this way, or say do it this way, do it this the right way. No, that's wrong to do. And we start to take on these beliefs, and it starts to become a mechanism that we start to believe that I am this, I am that. And that's why like the mind just starts going crazy sometimes of that blah, 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 because there's all these different information that we receive in our lifetime of people saying who we are and who it is. And for me, and just like you, I've been doing deep meditation work, deep ones, in which I'm just being in that energy. And another amazing teacher, Kyle sees, his way he does meditation is to sit in silence. But the way he doesn't sit in silence is let the show go on, meaning that the meditation, a lot of times people have the meditation in a way of, we gotta meditate to like shut the mind up, shut the mind, shut this. And the cool thing is, eventually the mind will cease for a little bit, but even that is not all the time. It's gonna come back. And with this meditation, so what you do when you first go into it is just surrender and allow the show to go on. Allow the mind to just do what it does, because we're so busy trying to fight the mind to like, be quiet so I can do this. But when you allow the mind to be able to just do what it does, you step into a space of realizing that I'm not the mind. And while you do that, you get to observe your thoughts, which is beautiful, because then it's like, whoa, I'm not the thoughts. And then go back to that question, who am I? And then you ask that question, who's asking that? Who's hearing that?
Yeah. You know, as you're saying this, life is beautiful, man. I'm thinking of that's the fundamental part of trying to seek, who you are, because going back to, what you were saying, like, all the things that tell us who we are, our titles, and our positions, and, everything external, that's just, different pictures of who you are, but it's not who you truly are. So then, we go back into our bodies and we say, I am my body because I move it, and, it's me, and I have control over it. Now, bear in mind that we always have the idea of control. It's like we want to have control. And in fact, as society, we have gotten so far to believe that we are, so alone in this universe, and we need to control everything, the physics, the planets that we live in, and everything, right? But then, we feel comfortable in our body, and we say, I am our body. I am this, organism, this complex. But then when you think about it, how do I make my hand move? Even though I'm doing it, how do I do it? Am I really under control of that? Well, you can say maybe you are. But then you go and say, how do I make, my heart beat? And then you have no idea how your heart beats, or how you deliver oxygen to your blood and to your cells, and how do you digest your food, and so on. So, we have to say, I'm not my body. And then it goes to what you said. Well, if I'm not my body, I'm obviously my mind, because I think, therefore I am, right? So, but then you start thinking and you meditate on that, and you say, all right, I'm all my thoughts. And when you're meditating, you're thinking. And like you were saying, the truth of meditation is that, you're sitting in silence, but the true self in silence is not the mind. So the mind should not be silent. In fact, the mind cannot be silent, because the mind's only job is to create thoughts. It's to perceive the world from the past, project the future, and be survival at the moment. So the mind, in a way, is what it's related to the ego, to the identity of self, because it has all the collection of memories and, the possibilities of the future, and that's all it's doing. And now when you sit there and you say, am I the mind? Who's listening then? What is listening to the mind? And now you think, well, I guess I am consciousness. And we're getting close there to who we are, because the consciousness is what perceives everything. Okay. But we as humans, obsessed with trying to find out who and what works and how it exists and everything, we haven't been able to decode what consciousness is. We apologetically say, well, it's just something that randomly happened. But consciousness it's a tricky word. And when you realize that consciousness, even at its most reductionist point of view, is just electricity flowing, through the brain. We don't know where it's coming from, but, it's electricity, it's energy. And so at the core, you are just a generator of electricity. You're a generator of energy. And nothing palpable, nothing tangible is really you, but just that single point of attention in an infinite universe. And when we don't know where this is coming from, because we can trace it back, it comes from nothing. Just like we were born. We were born out of nothing. We came here to Earth without any memories, no recollections. Okay, we can play the regression here, right? But those memories are stored somewhere else. But when we come here, we come out of nothing. And when we die, we go into nothingness again, which is a reunion with who we truly are. So, these are the things that just make me think, where are we, in this process of knowing who we are? And what is the value of having, this identity? Because then what's the purpose of having this identity? And it all comes down to experience to me. I'll extend myself a little bit on the experience if you want. And that's, the idea that now that we get into this point, and a lot of people might feel like, well, that's a scary thought, that we're nothing but, a single point of consciousness in an infinite universe. Well, not truly, because there's a reason why you're here. And since we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, how we are discovering, or what I like to call self-discovery of the self, that's what we're looking for. You were mentioning how you're healing, and invariably when you heal, you have to go back to your childhood. And that's because when we were children, we were everything that we were meant to be. Anything else that came out of that, and sad as it sounds, is just a distortion of who we were as children. And now that we're reconnecting with the self, all we're doing is going back to seeing what the essence that we brought here to this planet, to this life, to this experience now, it's a brief experience. We're tapping from our childhood. We are going back there, healing, that child that came here with everything that it had. And there's a reason why we came here as children, to have a specific purpose. And that to me is the main goal that each and every one of us has. And that again is how I started, this topic, experience. We came here to have an experience, or as many experiences as we can have, because, and I'll tie this in with the idea of the universe, God, the creator, the source, the origin, whatever you want to call it. We know that this entity is infinite. But if you're infinite, you cannot have an experience, because you're all there is, all there can be, and ever will be. So you cannot have an experience. For that, you need to chop yourself into finite portions of who you are. So that chopping part is what we see and perceive as the creators ourselves, separate from each other. But we are all chopped into different pieces so we can have experiences independent from each other. And this ties in also with the perception that we have force upon us, that society wants us to see and think in one specific way. You know, we get into the sense of unworthiness because we don't fit just the little parameters that they have, little blocks that they have built for us. And the truth is that we don't have to, because that would be a very reductionist way of experiencing the universe. So the truth is that we all came here with a single identity, and this is just a different state of consciousness, believe it or not, because we're not here to speak one language, to, you know, see ourselves in one class, in one race, in one nothing. It's to be as multiple as possible in this universe, with different points of consciousness or states of consciousness. And that is the reason for me, and as far as I have been delving this, you know, that we all came here with a true identity, which is just the variety that we are. And the more diverse we are, the better, because that's our only purpose. As part of the infinite creator, we are here just to explore that we came here with, to just be, you know, and there's nobody that can tell you that you are wrong or that there's something wrong with you. And we as a society are also obsessed with that, you know, giving children the so many titles, you know, that extra, you know, efficient or too deficient, or, you know, we're started from the beginning just limiting ourselves and limiting because they don't fit the patterns, you know, and it's completely against the nature of who we are, to just have the multiplicity of humans that we exist, and humans are just one part of this whole creation. So it's a humbling experience, and at the same time very empowering to know that we are just being, you know, that point of consciousness, single point of consciousness that is part of everything, experiencing itself and others. And to me, that's where I take, you know, the love and compassion for everybody else, because you are myself having a different experience that I would not have ever. And I am grateful for that. You know, even if I'm in the point of judgment to say, you know, that somebody's having a terrible experience, I am grateful, you know, that person is having that for myself, being me, you know, the same person that you know, individual is. So that to me is the process, you know, that we're going through when we are discovering who we are. And it's just, you know, finding out all those things that we are naturally inclined to do. And, you know, the more we can explore, the better. And for that, you know, goes all the work of ego death, you know, just forgetting about, you know, what people think about you and your insecurities, and, you know, just keep being you, man. That's the best thing I can just say that I have been experiencing for the past couple of months. The more you can be yourself, you know, the more you're going to be one with the creator.
I was waiting to see if Kai was going to say something, but it's okay. The perfect silence right there to let it marinate as well. But I'm trying to figure out what I want to like talk with first. But overall, great, amazing, beautiful way of saying it too. And also, I want to honor you for your vulnerability. We're talking about the judgments that you used to have for others that you was able to work through. And that is a big collective energy that's happening right now, of a lot of judgment, and also what's right, what's wrong, putting labels on people, like straight from the gate. If somebody's not in alignment with your beliefs, your core beliefs, you put a label on them, type of thing. And I can go for pretty different ways of saying that, but the essence of that, what I'm trying to say is, like, everybody has a reason for why they are doing what they're doing in this moment, and what works for me, and I feel like collectively it works so much more, is being able to just have a conversation with people to understand why they do the things that they do right now, because a lot of us are so embedded in like this pain bodies, these stories of what happened in our life, that we're living life so limited because we got limited from the experiences from childhood to adulthood. And just having a conversation, understand why somebody's doing what they do, like we could just, oh, this person's an asshole or something like that. We don't know, like, oh, this person might have had a loss in the family. This person might have had some traumatic experience that made them this way upset right now. And to be able to just be in that unconditional creator space, unconditional love, and just holding the space for people, you get to learn a lot and understand where somebody's coming from, and then you have compassion. And that's what we need right now. We need a lot more compassion for understanding where we're at right now. But then, of course, like, we're getting into the part of this unity consciousness, but these stuff that are happening right now in the forefront is just the collective triggers that's happening for us to bring this up. But I love the fact of where we're going, and I see that, and I'm holding that in my mind's eye because I see the meditation, and for me, I'm just holding space for that, and just living in that space for that collective unity consciousness in which we just look at each other, we be with each other, we love each other, but then it's like, I'm looking at you, and I'm looking in a mirror, and because that's what's happening anyway. No matter who you're looking at a mirror, and what you see from whatever person it is reflecting something in you that you should sit with and find out what part of you is being triggered by this mirror that you're seeing in front of you, this mirror of God. And yeah, I'm gonna do it. I was trying to hold myself back from saying something, but I'm gonna say something because this is the podcast. This is a podcast taking stuff to another level and talking about God and Creator, and we all come from that source. And I just wanted to ask a question for people, because a lot of people say they love God, the infinite Creator. They have that unconditional love for God. And the question that I wanted to throw it out there for everybody is, like, if you truly love God, then why do you hate this person for what they do? Why do you hate that person for what they do? Why do you don't like this person for where they are? Because when you do that, you're hating God. And let's keep it real. Let's keep it real right now. If you truly love God and you truly unconditionally love God, you unconditionally love everything and everyone, and you accept everybody for where they're at. That's it.
I love it. You know, labeling, and that's something that I feel like as we start, discovering who we are, and we start, seeing, I guess, the nature of, like, what we're meant to be. I don't think, in a way, I feel like we shouldn't be ashamed of judging others as we do it. I'll tell you why. I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? But judging is something that's still going to happen. And I'm talking about when you first discover that you have been judging others. There comes a sense, and like I said, I'm trying to keep it as real as possible. We all go through this process of feeling ashamed for judging others. Now, there is a huge difference between judging unknowingly and judging knowing, because when you know that you're judging, it's a sign. It's almost like an invisible disease that you may have. That's when you don't know. And when you know, it's because you have a disease that you now are aware of. And that disease, now you can treat it because you are aware of it. And so judging will continue to happen. And it's just telling you, it's a sign of your mind, and your spirit actually is telling you, hey, pay attention. Why are you judging, this person? Why you're hating on this person? Why do you feel like this person is less than you? And I think there's a huge learning there. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I was guilty myself of trying to suppress any sort of judgment that I had and just label it right away like something wrong that I'm doing. And I don't think, that's a healthy way for me, at least to do it. I think we should really get into, the dirty and dark aspect of us and, go through that and say, why am I judging? Where did this come from? You start asking the question and answer cycle that, we all love, where does it come from? Well, how do you feel about it? This is just questions that keep coming to my mind, as I say, this person is, he's a jerk for doing this. Well, why? How does that make you feel? And inevitably, it always brings me back to either my teenagers or my childhood, when you start feeling judged and you start judging. So once you realize that, to me, at the very least, it's just like, why do I still keep this? I'm past that point. Even if it happened an hour ago or days ago, it's something that just passed. It was an experience, it taught me something, and that's it. So maybe the reason why we all go through this process is because for a long time, depending on, our own life, we've been through a lot of experiences that we were, like you were saying, we label them, we label everything. And because of our disconnection, however long it might be, with spirit, it's really hard to connect it to that and say, this is just something that I was meant to have. And, I shouldn't have any emotional attachment to that. And I think that's the biggest thing. Whenever we do any sort of inner work, is trying to find what emotional attachment we have to anything that had happened. And that goes even with things that bring you joy or pleasure. This is, it has a lot to do with our sexual behaviors too. Why do we have this lust, for whatever inclination we may have, or for food, any sort of pleasure in this world. And, not to sound, the Tibetan way, but that's just, how it is. And it doesn't mean that it's something good or bad. It's just analyzing, where this is coming from, and, be in harmony with it, as opposed to looking for, the highs of life and, inevitably the lows, because with a big high comes a big low. So, that's another thing that I've been trying to grasp a lot. I don't want to sound like I'm, I'm even halfway there. I'm still going through oh my God, it's an arduous process, man. But, I'm enjoying every single high and low that I have to go through, because sometimes I go into my coping mechanisms. I go there. I surely do. And, when I try to be as mindful as possible, because those things are not truly me. Those are things that I've been conditioned with. And, I think there are just better ways to perceive it, so that's just my take on the whole, judgment, labeling, and knowing that you are a part of that, and be happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. We're all of it. That's what infinite means. Infinite is we're everything, all of that, the judgments, the emotions, the anger, all these different things. And we all have experienced it before to a certain degree. And we judge before because, like, we're judging ourselves deeply, and comes to that realization of that judgment of having this thought, having this. I thought before, like, numerous times of punching somebody in the face. I even thought in my mind before of killing people, but I never acted upon it. And as I became more deeper into it and just becoming aware of, like, these thoughts have came up and they went away, and like I was saying before, becoming that observer, and you start to realize that, like, the thoughts are going to come up all the time. All these things are going to happen, and we have the choice of whether or not we want to entertain and attach ourselves to that thought, and so it becomes a belief, or we just let it go. We're the ocean, like the waves of energy, waves of emotion that keeps coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. And the more we embody that we are that, we realize that things are going to come up, come down. We're going to be happy one moment. We're going to be sad one moment. We're going to be depressed one moment. All these things are going to happen, but it's just a moment. And we get so attached to looking for some type of fulfillment. To, like, I want to be happy all the time. But yeah. There's a way to be that. Can you be unconditionally happy? Can you be unconditionally happy that you're depressed right now? Can you be unconditionally happy that you're sad right now? Can you be unconditionally happy that you're angry right now? Can you be unconditionally happy that you're judging right now? You could be any, whatever, just choose it. But just be unconditionally. What happens is, like, and I've done it for myself too, we do things, try to conditionally be a certain way and hold on to that. Like feel this way, oh no, I gotta be happy in this way. And you're not allowing the infinite to expand through you. And it's all these different ways of being unconditionally and the stuff that you do and this unconditionally way that you be. And you're getting it, Gabo. You're there of like being able to work through the emotions, work through the thoughts, and become the observer and really expand it. And we all are. I just want to give you acknowledgement for that. You're there. The thing that needs to happen, you integrate that belief of knowing that, and just be in that space of knowing that you are that infinite being, and look into your experiences as that infinite creator that you are.
Yeah, I tell you, man, it's not for me, and this is the reason why, going back to Kai's questions at the beginning, like who I've been, for the past couple of months, is that I've been, you know me, that I'm very much into the technical details of this reality, and where we're going and all this stuff. And that's just, a byproduct of who I was in the past and kind of still am, with the science and, the technicism of everything. But for the past couple of months, I've been, just, I would say, just forced into this rediscovery of my philosophical points of view of everything. And it's just been a beautiful marriage that I've had, with the, I would say, the technical aspect and the poetry behind, who I am, the artistic and, the female and the male energy. It's just been an intertwined weaving, of this. And I've been feeling it a lot. And that has resulted in me just questioning from a different point of view all the things that we are, all the things that we experience. And there are some things about our way of living that we should really get into, to question and find out what is it that we want. Because as you were saying, can you be happy all the time? Just to use an example, certain drugs, I believe MDMA or ecstasy, provides you with that. It will flood your system with chemicals that would make you feel in a blissful experience, really happy. But that comes at a cost. You will be depleted for days, of this natural occurring chemical in your body because of it. And same like when we have a natural experience, we secrete this chemicals in the body, and it can't last too long. It would be painful to be like that, for too long. And people are seeking that all the time. Instant gratification has become part of our society. That's why we have all these, entertainments, just to generalize everything. And, it's a constant high seeking that everybody's looking for. The only reason people are seeking highs is because there are parts of their lives only perceivable, that are depressing. And it's hiding from that depression, little moments of depression. And hey, first guilty of that. I have my depression moments, over and over, but I'm aware of them as much as I can be. And I question them, and I see, how can I rescue myself from there, as opposed to just, let me avoid this and let him go to some distraction. It's like a little kid when he gets, he falls and you distract him with a little toy. It's like, no, have your experience, grow out of it. So, that process of seeking, the constant happiness, to me is, it's another experience for sure. I'm not saying it's wrong. People should do, what they really want to do. To me, it doesn't seem to work, because I much rather be, in a stable, harmonious state. There's no ups and downs, and the beauty of staying in harmony is that you're surprised all the time. Anything that happens, it's a big surprise. And it's a beautiful way to see the world. Somebody died. It's a mystical experience. Everything. I just received a visit. Somebody called me that I wasn't even expecting. It doesn't matter. It could be just like I know this may sound very weird, maybe not for us, in the audience, but I would just sit outside and look at the flies. I'm talking about flies. See the insects. I look at the grass, and I just look at it like, what a privilege, to be here. What a privilege to have a point of awareness into this reality, as complex as it is, and not know anything about it, and not wanting to know more about it. Just as much as we can believe that we know and understand, we can never get there. And that's the mystical part of this universe. We have to draw, or back away from the idea that now we're getting a good grip of, quantum mechanics. Now we're getting an understanding of how stars are formed. That's not meant for us. We're here for an experience. We're not, scientists of the universe. Who said that? So there's so much joy. I mean, I can spend hours listening, to lectures and, philosophies and stuff, but that doesn't compare to just one little ant crawling up a blade of grass. How can you explain that? How can you describe that, and without the reductionist way of seeing things? So we are surrounded by mystical experiences all the time. It's just really our perception of how we see it, and how plain our view is. And getting into that point, I think it's just it really is just a psychedelic experience every time you look at the world this way, every single day. Hope this resonates with you.
Yes, because life is a psychedelic experience. It's just slower.
Yeah. Yes, a lot slower, and that's better.
Yeah,
that's much better.
Yeah, because you enjoy every moment. You can be able to enjoy, like you said, like with the grass and the air. You're enjoying the fine, little, minimal moments, the infinite moments. When you see the infinite in something so small, and I always just get fascinated, like walking the ant. Like the ants, like see me, like, oh shit, that's a big motherfucker, like that type of thing. And like when they try to run away and stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm like curious, like I'm a gentle giant. Let me hold you.
Yeah, man, it's all around us, and now that you say it, it really is beautiful to see that we really are surrounded by a psychedelic experience, and the only control that we have is that we are in control of this psychedelic, view of the world. And, Terence McKenna is known for, being probably the most famous psychonaut. And he would say all the time, like, this is, the psychedelic experience is just a way to understand more our nature here. The way we perceive the world, everything that surrounds us is, it's almost like a crash course of what you're living right now. It's a way for you to come out of the ideology that we have, all of this nonsense, anything that a human in the past thousands of years, probably go 8,000 years ago, of this patriarchal society that we've had, has been trying to create specific ideologies. And I think that's the sickness of our society. And at the same time, it's a gift. We have to see it both ways. So it's a way to say my truth, and this is the big word here, truth. We are truth seekers. Well, the real truth is that there is no truth, honestly. Otherwise, we would have found it. We've been at it for thousands of years. And, if anything, we'd be confused, completely confused and confounded. So, the seeking of truth is what creates ideals. The ideal, religion, the ideal perception of philosophy, and the ideal, way of behaving, the ideal garments that you use, and the ideal hairstyle, and the ideal, and that's all we have. All of that is just incarcerating us in what we were talking about, the little cell blocks that we, have our perception of the world. And it's just limiting the experience, the psychedelic world that we are part of too. And, the more we go away from those ideals and those dogmas, those indoctrinations that we've had, the more we start seeing, the world better. And I was just listening to Alan Watts talking about like how we as a society, we believe that people are sane and insane. We have asylum for some people, and we have different wards, psychiatric wards, for this strange people. And all that's happening is that there is naturally bound to be outliers in the world that just simply have a completely different state of consciousness. These people are a gift for us because maybe the bulk of us, are programmed in a way that we can see things, more square. We can actually fit in a way our society. But these people are bringing something beautiful to the world. The same with children that have been diagnosed with all kinds of makeup ideas that, mental illness or, mental deficiencies and so on, because we adults can't understand them, and it's just, it's a wrong, to me, it's a wrong way to enjoy the diversity that we have. And to me, these people that we kind of condemn, and we think, we got to give them all kinds of drugs and, put them in closed doors, is it's so much untapped power out there that, we haven't been able to explore, because ideals, again, it goes all back to that, and our ideas that, we can label the human experience, where that's just the complete opposite of what we should be doing, which is just allowing ourselves flow into that state that we came in here as, like I said earlier, as children, and just keep exploring that part. So
what you reminded me of,
yeah,
you reminded me of that scene from The Matrix, where Neo is sitting with the Oracle, and he's starting to like question her nature. And I find that that's like such a profound part, because you're talking about like indoctrination and stuff like that, but is it really indoctrination if we're meant to question it? So he asks, he's like, well, what are the purpose of these programs? She's like, there's a program that that governs the birds, there's a program that governs the sky. And he's like, what's your purpose? And she's like, there's a balance here. And she's like, my purpose is to unbalance it. So there are people that are here that their purpose is to classify, their purpose is to condemn. There's some power that's not meant to be tapped, and that's okay. There are tons of things that we're not meant to understand. And I use the word meant to, very, very loosely. Just like you were saying earlier, I'm firmly in the belief that, we are here to have an experience. And the reason why why I've been silent for most of this is because I'm here to experience listening to you. And also I'm sitting in my state of equanimity. There's a lot of things that I could say, and also there's a lot of things that just are. Me saying it doesn't make it any more than it is or than it is not. So simply being here in this experience and listening to you has been absolutely enriching and profound. So I appreciate you bringing all of these, wonderful experiences that you've had in your life and all of the wisdom that you've gleaned from your experience, just so that we could be here to experience it through you.
Oh, thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
That is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Silence really is the way to process everything.
Yeah.
That's something that for me, and I'll share this, this part of myself, because I was almost a nihilist for, and I say almost because in my core, I always had some respect, for the unknown, because I knew there was something unknown. I was always compensating, my natural mystical part of myself with analysis and understanding and the science of everything. And that left so much noise in my mind, which I still, have and echoes. It's a really hard thing for a person like me to try to silence my mind and not go through, because what happens is like we were saying, it's not about the silent part, but also the listening part. Because when you start listening to your thoughts, what happens is that you either get carried away with it, or you let them flow. And to me, that's been the biggest challenge when it comes to silence. So I really appreciate when I get any sort of lesson from the people that I listen to, the things that I just experienced that make me realize even more that process of listening more your thoughts, and finding out what they want to tell you. Because as a listener of your thoughts, at least in my experience, there's a wealth of information there as we grow spiritually, because those are the things that are nagging, and they're just gnawing at ourself, from the things that we should probably be working on. And it's a really beautiful way to see silence as part of our process and our evolution itself. And like we said at the beginning, silence is the way to the creator. So tapping into that for sure. Thank you for saying all that too, Kai. That really means a lot. Really
Absolutely.
You're a goddess in disguise.
Thank you so much. I just want to leave off. There was a beautiful movie. I think it came out in the 70s or 80s. It's called Dinner with Andre. And, they were using an analogy to talk about New York City, but it was really about life. And the analogy was talking about how, people who live in New York City always talk about how they want to get out of the city. And it's like, wow, that is so interesting. But what it brought to mind and presence was that, we essentially are if we view life this way, we are the prisoners, and we're also the prison guards. So there's a lot of opportunity for liberation if that's what we seek. And if we're in equanimity, then we are where we are to be. So I appreciate this full circle conversation, Gabo. This was truly an exploration of divinity. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dell, for your amazing anecdotes and experiences that you bring to this conversation as well. I appreciate you. And are there any last words, either one of you, before we conclude in 2 minutes?
I just want to say that the only thing that keeps resonating with me over the past couple of months is acceptance of self. And in a nutshell, for me, that's just accepting everything that comes from you and not questioning, like we were saying, the judging part. As we become aware of these concepts, don't feel ashamed, don't feel any sort of negative perception of yourself. Just brush it off and accept everything that you are, because the reason why you may not accepting yourself is because somebody said that to you, and you're living through someone else's point of view, which again, he or she got it from somebody else. And as we climb the ladder, we find out that it's unnatural. So accepting yourself is the biggest thing for everybody, and certainly what I'm trying to do myself too. So I would share that with everybody.
Del, we don't have your audio for some reason.
Uh-oh. Silence again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I take off the headphones. But I was saying acceptance is a powerful thing to do, because accepting yourself, you're able to accept others. And my message is I like to slow things down like I do in my TC sessions. I just slow things down to second by second and moment by moment. And like with that acceptance is accept yourself little by little by each moment and ask yourself, and it could be like a mantra.
That's all good, and it's all perfect.
He dissolved into the void.
He sure did. And he left off talking about a mantra, and again, we come back to silence. How perfect.
Yeah, it's a big lesson. Like 3 times in this hour.
Well,
Love
thank you again, Gabo. So your website,
Thank
I'm
you,
just going
man.
to type it in the chat for everyone. It's also in the description, GaiaAwakens.com. If you're called to, please feel free to check it out. And just thank you again for your presence.
Thank you, Kai. Really love this.
Beautiful. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. Your presence matters as well, and we acknowledge you for being here. Take care.